for those of you who might be on that precipice, might be on that edge of like, oh, I might have something in me. I think I do. I have like this idea that nobody's ever considered before. I want you to start celebrating, recognizing your brilliance, especially if people never did that for you.
Yeah.
You want to start doing that for yourself now.
Welcome back to The Prosperous Feminine. I am Julie Steelman, and I got somebody here today that is my vibe, my jam, my person, and you're going to love her too. Her name is Tessa Lynn Alburne. I've lost track of how long I've even known you and how many iterations and how many countries and how many places, we've been together. And I really wanted to bring her on because her wisdom is really uncommon, and we're probably going to disrupt things a little bit. We kind of like to get rogue together. And she's a soul connection business coach. And we're going to unpack what that means. And she's an author, a podcast host, and an explorer and a seeker. And she's had over 2 decades of experience training leaders and coaches. She guides inspired women to create a sustainable business in alignment with their high self. Can we say yes to that? Yummy and welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here. And we've done podcasts together before, but it's always fun.
It's always fun.
Illuminating, and we always go somewhere we don't expect.
Totally. And so that's the fun part and why we keep doing this. So I want to talk a little bit about, as this business, soul work business coaching that you do. We know that women, especially over 50, that are feminine entrepreneurs can get really hung up on what's expected of them and the ageism that's in our society and all of the impositions and stories about women in that generation. And they weren't supposed to speak up or be empowered or ask for money or be in business, and so we're trying to break through all of that. But there's this over layer of expectations. So give me your take on that.
I think there are a lot of expectations in addition to like what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Like that's the, kind of the surface, right?
Yeah.
There are these unspoken expectations that we're not going to rock the boat, that we're not going to say something that doesn't conform with what's already been said or what a fact says over here. Oh, is that a fact somewhere? Well, screw you. Do you want to follow the facts that have gotten us to where we are in this crazy world?
Right.
Like we need something different, right? And so I think what happens is what I see with women is they've got amazing purpose and gifts to share, but they're trying to confine themselves, right? Make it fit like this so it's okay with everybody. And they're not thinking to do that, but it's just the natural mode, right? They're afraid of being criticized. They're being afraid of being shamed. We both know what that's about. People still attempt it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with me anymore. The women that come to me are not able yet to just reflect that off, right? They take it too much to heart and their worth just starts to diminish. And then they can't really shine as the entrepreneur that they are. And I'm just blown away sometimes by the brilliance that women have. And it's like, oh my gosh, we've been waiting for you, right? Like, can you please do this?
Yeah.
Come with me.
Like tease it out of them.
Yes.
We've talked about this where the program that I'm running right now in the Income Accelerator Academy I got really clear, like you, how brilliant they are, that they're actually the voice of today that are holding the keys to the vision of the planet we all really want to live on. And this isn't airy fairy, mamby pamby. Let's just blow it up and everybody's a global change maker and just double cheek kiss and that. This is serious stuff.
This is very serious, Julie. I'm glad you mentioned that because we came from an age where people want to put everybody out to pasture when they get to a certain age and all of that. But what's happening, and we're going through such tremendous change globally and in our collective consciousness that we need the younger folks, right? I'm not saying they're
Yep.
not amazing. They are. And we also need the folks with experience
Mhm.
who are not tied to the past. And I think that's the differentiator because,
Oh, yes.
right,
Okay,
10
wait.
years ago, 20 years
Wait.
ago. Okay.
Wait. We're going to highlight. Okay, so y'all she just made a distinction. You should lean into what she just said. Say that again.
I don't know if I can exactly the
You
same way,
can.
but okay.
Tied to the past because we're
Yes.
talking about
So
expectations.
10 years ago, 20
Yeah.
years ago, people who were of white hair and no more hormones or they radically changed. Um, those poor people not having good
Yeah.
sex and all of that. They were too tied to the past and trying
Yeah.
to recreate that they did become dinosaurs. And so now what we've got, though, we've got a rich body of
Yes.
wise people, saging people
Yeah.
who get like, wow, we really need to come together in a new way and not try to recreate something, but create something new
Yes.
and bring all of that in and still being supportive of the younger generations, but
Yeah.
also being supportive of the generations who are here, who are earning, who are contributing to society and to the globe, to the whole planet, really. Like every piece of human existence is on a precipice.
Yep.
And we need all our wise people.
Truth. We love truth bombs. And you and I always go here, which is why some people think we're disruptive and radical and rogue. But it's really about this heartfelt truth telling that you're speaking to. And as we were kind of talking earlier, it's like sort of one of the things I heard you identify as a remedy to moving past this living in the past, what you're saying makes you a dinosaur. And then you're trying to live up to expectations that were never really empowering in the first place. And so it's a
Oh,
no win. And the remedy that I heard you talk about is this raising your capacity. So can you unpack that a little bit?
yes, I'd be delighted to. So, there are a number of ways we can raise our capacity. But what I'm talking about here, I'm going to make two main points here today. One is to raise our capacity as women entrepreneurs for success. And not just success, but running a business,
Yes.
really owning that. Because,
Yes.
man, I hear it all the time from people who come to work with me and they're like, I want to make money. And then the minute that I use the word, initials CEO, they're like, "Oops,
Yep.
what? I don't think of myself as a CEO." And I'm having some fun. They don't really say it like that. But so there is like this whole ownership piece. Like you don't have to have gone to business school for umpteen thousand years. And
No.
please, actually, it probably wouldn't help you to run your
No.
business successfully, but it's time. So what this is connected to is women have always identified mostly as being the nurturer. And that means not equally, but where can I do this? Like that. So
Yeah.
not equal to the other. So whether that's the president of a company and they're like their right-hand person, they see themselves down here.
Mhm.
Okay. In the same way, like in relationships, they see themselves smaller. I always
Yeah.
need a taller man. Like we see it in our
Yeah.
social expectations as well.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So there is raising the capacity that they are and can be an equal in power, authority, sovereignty, and the money will follow. Okay, that's one area. The second area is raising their capacity for discomfort.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right?
Everybody
Like,
breathe.
yeah. What does that mean? It's going to be just uncomfortable? Oh, it's just going to be hard the first couple of months when I don't know anything. No, being an entrepreneur, as you well know, requires constant renovation, constant adjusting, constant not knowing. And I think that's the big key. Most people have been raised to think they know what to expect. You go to
Yes.
school, you're going to graduate at year 12, usually, something like that. And then if you're going to go to your undergrad, it's just going to be 4 years or 2 years associates. And then you've got a master's. And so there's a ladder, there's a program. And you're like, I did it. I know what I'm aiming for and I
I
did it.
followed the rules. It should all work.
It's right. And
Yeah,
my life's going to be
BS.
amazing.
BS. Got news for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So in entrepreneurship,
Yeah,
the ladder doesn't exist,
it doesn't.
right? We have to be prepared to create the path and or watch for it being created as
Yeah.
we go,
Yeah.
and then know whether or not to go here or there or there
Yeah.
or there. There's
There.
more than two paths. There are infinite possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so how do you choose, right? And so one of the problems I see with people not trusting themselves is that they're like constantly buying things. I'm going to buy this, I'm going to do that program because that one says it's going to get me exactly what I want, right?
I
And
think more training is the solution.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, that was potent, those
okay,
two areas.
thank you. I would love to know, even from you, like
Yeah.
where you see this could help people, help your women,
Yeah.
like just those concepts around raising capacity for entrepreneurship and raising capacity for discomfort.
Yeah.
Right. It's beyond the entrepreneurships. It's also meaning being able to be uncomfortable with setting boundaries, uncomfortable with saying, this is what I really want and I'm going for it. I'm not going
Yeah.
to listen to my friends. I'm not
Right.
going to, right. I have
Yeah.
to actually make my choices. And I think this is where it ties into expectations, the
Yeah.
expectations of others, and trying to please them and make sure, I did this. I was saying this on a podcast not long ago, where we could easily run to all our friends and our colleagues and ask, like, "Oh, does this sound good? Does this sound good? Does this sound good?" And they're like, "Well, I don't really get you, but no, that
Yeah.
doesn't sound good." So, yeah, we have to learn to trust ourselves,
Yeah.
hear that soul direction, the direction of the entire divine team guiding, as well as have some really great strategies, like what you
Yeah.
teach is
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And knowing when to follow the strategy, when to be in the process, and when to choose from that inner authentic voice.
Yeah. This is really, I think, going to free up a lot of people in their thinking, because as I'm listening to you, I'm becoming aware of how expectations actually limit us, and the desire to look at what's your desire to actually follow or listen to those expectations. And people have heard me talk about this before, but I liken it to, I'm with a lot of wildlife, right? They wake up every day, their habitat's not the same. They aren't working off of a promise of trying to keep everything the same and trying to follow certain rules so that it works. And so there's this really stupid idea out there that's been out there in an unconscious shared agreement in society that if you follow the rules, you get the goodies. And it's not true. And we are at a time where we're both women moving the ball forward on the feminine rising and paying attention to others' expectations. When you have an instinct to do something that feels rogue, I'm going to encourage you to go rogue and not do expectations, because that's going to limit you. And part of that inner narrative is learning the sovereignty. What I mean by sovereignty is that you have your own say so in your own consciousness and have dominion in your own consciousness, is paying attention to the things that are designed to limit you, to keep you small, versus developing the capacity to listen to the thing that might feel rogue is part of that going with what's more uncomfortable because it's not, quote, the social norm. But listen, can we just rip the Band-Aid off? We're no longer in any social norm on anything. Sexuality, gender, race, women, men, how you identify and how you don't identify, and global consciousness around, like, the Band-Aid's been ripped off. We're in the Wild West. It's a free world. And if women are going to rise, these expectations around money or inner barrier blocks about self have to shift. And yes, the key core capacity is to be able to be uncomfortable with these new sensations. a while ago, I wrote my
Yes.
enrollment book, and I was in a group, and it was with Gay Hendricks, and he was going to pick 3 manuscripts that he was going to forward. He's going to put his name on, and he was going to give to his agent. I was one of them. And I got to go to his house and sit with him in his office. And he said, "You're doing the really right thing. You're following your impulses. And I'll tell you one thing I wish I'd known." He said, "You have to learn to be complete with incompletion." Translation, you have to learn to be complete with the uncomfortable impulses, but keep following the impulses.
Yes.
And I was
I
like, I
love that.
never
That's
forgotten to
wonderful.
this day that I got to sit in his office with him and his wife, Kathleen, right? These two are like famous, right?
Oh,
I was in their
totally.
house in
One of
Ojai.
the first books that like really helped
Yeah.
me understand opportunity and like there's
Yeah.
more than what I'm even dreaming of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Big Leap, I think, is one of his best books.
Yes,
So, as
absolutely.
we wrap up, what's the last thought that you would leave our listeners with?
I think, maybe some of the listeners aren't quite ready to be disruptive, and that's okay. So I do want to
It's
say that
totally
that's
okay.
totally fine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what you want first is the actual confidence and to build your muscle capacity to know when to trust yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, by all means, please get mentorship, from somebody you
Coaching.
can trust.
Yeah.
And for those of you who might be on that precipice, might be on that edge of like, oh, I might have something in me. I think I do. I have like this idea that nobody's ever considered before. I want you to start celebrating,
Mm.
recognizing your brilliance, especially if people never did that for you.
Yeah.
You want to start doing that for yourself now,
Mm.
really recognizing your brilliance. You don't have to
Mm.
make a big deal or go announce it, but I want you to ceremonialize it in some way so that you feel it and
Oh,
know it.
I love that. Like, embody it and let it land in your body. That's a big part of, I actually believe that a lot of the world is on fire. And I don't mean specifically war, even though that's going on and there's a whole nother war that started.
Yes.
But the messiness of the uncertainty that we're living in is creating an epic opportunity to be catalyzed in this time of chaos for these incredible bodies of work that are coming through us in these methodologies that we're giving birth to, that there isn't a template or a framework for. There's a framework or a structure in which you can start to identify and pull that forward. But it's really not ever been done before. We're in an evolutionary time. We're in a quantum quickening. And that's why I want you to follow that idea that might feel a little rogue, that might feel a little, oof. Is that the norm? Because if we're following the norm and trying to fit in, we're editing our genius. I promise you.
Yes, 100%. And so that piece, like I love what you bringing this in, that we're in this quickening, that's quantum
Yeah.
quickening, because we have rubber banded
Yeah.
into the Aquarian age. It's happening. And that means old structures must fall away.
Yeah.
And the more we try and hold on to those, the more
Yeah.
awful it's going to feel. And so way forward is embracing the unknown and coming together with others who are willing to
Yeah.
collaborate. Right?
Yes.
Not give me this and I'll give you that. No
Yeah.
more of that stuff.
No, no more of
But
that.
real collaboration. Like,
Yes.
how can I support you? How can we do this together in a way that feels great for both of us or all of us?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's another area that could be another podcast, another area where women could be better at
I agree.
collaborating.
I agree. And that is totally another topic and something we should talk about. And I want to thank you for really coming on here today and going into the potent, juicy material of your perspective on this and your worldview on this. I know you have so much training and have earned the right to have this conversation. And I know that you've coached a lot of women and been in a lot of organizations and containers that have given you exposure to actually really see this in the unique way that you see it. And I think it will be very edifying and satisfying for the listeners. So I'm just really grateful to you.
Oh, thank you, Julie.
And for our friendship.
Yes. I
And
love
so
how we get this play together off
I
and on,
know.
and but we're always connected, even
Yeah.
when you're in Africa and I'm somewhere else
Or
as
you're in
well.
Mexico having a blast.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you for listening today to The Prosperous Feminine. And we would love it if you would share it with as many people as possible, because we're here to edify, support, uplift, and grow feminine entrepreneurs. I'm Julie Steelman. Please subscribe and like below and share it with your friends. And I can't wait to talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.